preserved. Where is the next experiment, computer?
In Quadrant 4, Dexter.
Thank you. Things have been going very smoothly today, huh, computer?
Yes, Dexter. All systems are operating at optimum efficiency.
Optimum efficiency. We have never operated at optimum efficiency. Computer, initiate standard scan for Dee Dee-like life forms.
I can find no indication that your sister is in the laboratory, Dexter.
This does not make any sense. Why isn't she bothering me?
Welcome to Checkered Childhood, a classic Cartoon Network podcast covering many, many years of Cartoon Network's history.
I'm funky. I'm fresh.
Hi, the Powerpuff Girls. Hi.
Not now, boy. I'm busy. Tonight's the third night.
Hey there, ToonHeads. It's your host and boy genius, BDubs, and this is Checkered Childhood, a classic Cartoon Network podcast dedicated to all things animation from the 1990s and early 2000s on our favorite Checkered channel. Today, we're sneaking into Dexter's lab to explore all the cool gadgets and experiments he's got stored away behind his bookshelf in a countdown list of the top 10 best episodes. Might as well just tack on a Volume 1 label here. Hopefully Dee Dee won't interfere while we're in here either. So, before we begin, why the volume? Well, I want to give the later iteration of the show where the style changes in seasons 3 to 4 a fair chance. And considering that there's literally hundreds of episodes in this series, there's enough to do a separate top 10 in a volume 2 at a later point. For now, this first top 10 will cover seasons 1 to 2 of Dexter's Lab only. Also, to be fair, for the other shows, such as Dial M for Monkey and Justice Friends, I will be excluding them for their own top 10 series, just so that I can cover them separately and give them justice. I would say the same goes for any other Cartoon Network show on this podcast, with different cartoon segments in the middle, such as Super Secret Squirrel and Two Stupid Dogs. Finally, because this is a top 10 list and not a favorites list, it's going to be more objective and analytical approach when picking my entries for the series. All right, ToonHeads, with all that out of the way, let's enter past the door where impossible things happen and discover together the objective highlights of the series.
There is gloom and doom while things go boom in Dexter's Lab.
Starting with my number 10 pick, we have Dexter and Computress Get Mandark from Season 2, Episode 37A. The premise is a simple one. Basically, Dexter teams up with Mandark's robot brother, Computress, to make Mandark's head shrink. It's most noble because, it's really special to have a kid have a direct creative input in a show or episode of a show, which rarely, if ever, happens. In this case, Tyler Samuel Lee is a 7-year-old who really loves cartoons. You may say he's even the show's biggest fan. According to a 1998 Newsday article, Genny chose his audio tape to animate the episode as if the child did it in celebration of the show reaching its 50th episode. It's a bit nonsensical and humorous, just like Tyler himself. But that's what helps the episode stand out from the pack. Because of the way it's illustrated and animated, you actually believe a kid made this episode because the heart of the statement is true.
Computress wrote the love letter to Dee Dee that was signed from Mandark, and the letter said that I'll be in Dexter's lab and I love you. Well.
The visuals are childlike, and the story is eager in its quirky plot devices. And there's no real payoff, and it meanders a bit, but I don't see a problem with that. It's akin to having your old child show you what they made in first grade today, and you couldn't be happier as a parent to pin it to the fridge with a magnet for the whole family to see. All right, moving on to number 9, we have Mach 5 from Season 2, Episode 9C. The premise involves Dexter hoping to win the annual soapbox derby down Volcano Mountain against Mandark with the help of his pit crew consisting of Dee Dee, Dad, and Monkey. This one's notable because it is a faithful interpretation of the anime Speed Racer, while also simultaneously making fun of it. From the pose-to-pose animation with 0 frames in between, to the blatantly off lip sync during close-ups of monologues, this has it all for any classic anime fan.
Secretly unknown to Dexter, a mysterious stranger is mysteriously watching.
Excellent, haha, excellent. Now I, Mandark, know how Dexter plans to win the soapbox derby. He plans to use this magnificent car, but how does it work? Oh, maybe these top secret plans will help. They do. These top secret plans tell me the secrets of how the Mark V works. Excellent. Ha-ha. Excellent. Ha-ha-ha.
Plus, who doesn't love a good mountain of lava to spice things up? Soapbox derby races seem like they were everywhere in animation and even in feature films of the 1990s. So to see Dexter's Lab take the trope one step further and turn it on its head is nothing but delightful to watch. Even when Mandark just laughs nonstop, it's great. All right, we're already at number 8 with our next entry with Dexter's Rival / Mandarker, which is Season 1, Episode 3A and 12A, and for Mandarker is Season 1, Episode 12C. Admittedly, I cheated a little bit with this one by including 2 episodes instead of 1, but because they're so tightly knit story-wise, as one's the sequel to the other, I felt like I had to include both. So just treat it as one for now. The premise is, well, a new boy genius is in town named Mandark Astronominoff, and it's up to Dexter to rebuild his reputation after he is bested in a series of academic tests at school. However, pure wits won't get the job done. It's up to an unconventional approach to set back his foe a few notches, thanks to getting Dee Dee involved, we'll put it that way.
There is more candy upstairs if you desire, my love. Okay. Here you are, my dear. So, Dee Dee, I heard from a very reliable source that you like to dance.
Dance! I'd love to!
Robots, help!
In the follow-up episode, Mandark turns to magic to enact revenge on Dexter at a science fair after he enlists Dee Dee to destroy his massive lab. It's an interesting episode, both of them actually, together. Every outstanding individual needs a rival, after all, and with the introduction of Mandark, played by the magnificent Eddie Deason, we have a perfect balance of power between two boy geniuses of both light and dark forces, with a little playful chaos thrown in for good measure thanks to Dee Dee.
What? Oh, boy. Oh, it seems like a lifetime has passed since you sent your deadly agent to destroy my lab, Dexter. Yet I, Mandark, still cannot sleep. You keep haunting me, but I'll get you, Dexter. I swear I'll get you.
As someone myself who would try to get the best grades as possible in my grade school days and falling short to others who are slightly smarter than me, I too know the pain of what it's like to not live up to expectations. So, for anyone else who could relate, it's a solid offering and still holds up quite well. Moving on to number 7 of the top 10 Dexter's Lab episodes countdown list, we have Just an Old-Fashioned Lab Song from Season 2, Episode 32B. Premise involves, despite Dexter's reluctance to take piano lessons, Professor Williams finds out upon entering Dexter's lab that he has more musical talent than he realizes, just in a much different way. And I've got to say, this one is notable for being wholesome and fun. Like several 90s kids tropes present in kids media, hating taking piano lessons was definitely one of them. I appreciate their approach to introduce music into Dexter's world here because it's a bit unconventional and it doesn't bash you over the head like libretto. We see the teacher enter the lab, learn about his surroundings, and embrace Dexter's strengths rather than his weaknesses. Together, they make one catchy song that lives rent-free in Dexter's Lab fans' head through the union of each of the character skills and talent.
Tomorrow is a brighter day.
If we work together, together we can pave the way.
It'll last forever. Just open your heart, unlock that prison deep down in your mind. Step up to your console.
Create some music.
And breathe in the good sunshine.
Plus, I thought it was amusing that despite me thinking it was Elton John as a kid watching this episode, turns out it's the great Paul Williams Jr., who is known for composing hit songs in the 70s like The Rainbow Connection. Cool cameo if you ask me. All right, moving on to number 6. We have Paper Route Bout from Season 2, Episode 9A. And the premise is Dee Dee must train with Dad to best a group of ninja-like thugs who have taken over her morning paper route. What I love about this one, for being notable, is that the Asian influence in the story is front and center, which makes it feel way more grandiose than you'd expect it to be. It definitely relies on the atmosphere of the visuals and the sound to portray a new threat in town, and it's a rare instance where Dee Dee has to team up with Dad to stop the threat, rather than just instigate Dexter as usual in his lab.
They must be hunted down and destroyed like the dogs that they are.
Dad, you can't do that.
I can't? Oh, well, then we should have a contest or something.
That's a good idea. Good idea.
Good contest. That would be nice.
Overall, it's a great dynamic to see play out, and I wish we got more of it in other episodes because it shows many deeper layers of Dee Dee's character beyond the playful and destructive. I actually care about Dee Dee here and what she plans to do to save the neighborhood, and any instance where the show can make me feel that way towards a character I normally don't like is very powerful. To John McIntyre, who directed this episode, bravo. All right, we're already at the halfway point with number 5 in The Big Cheese from Season 1, Episode 9C. And the premise is, in an attempt to cram for a French test during the night, Dexter listens to his new invention, the subconscious discographic hyponator, to teach him the language on a record in record time. Problem is, due to an unexpected record scratch, the record skipped on the line "Omelette du fromage," causing him to speak only that phrase from here on out in the episode.
Morning, Poophead.
Omelette de fromage! Omelette du...
Dexter? What's my name?
Omelette de fromage.
That's all you can say!
Why is this notable? Come on, how could I not include this episode? It's taken on a whole new life once meme culture became a thing on the internet. It's highly memorable, highly humorous, if a bit irritating, but the twist at the end was delightfully tragic, in a sort of way that when you see Wile E. Coyote explode from a poorly executed plan to capture the Roadrunner. What astonishes me more is just how successful Dexter was able to not only solve his life problems here, but to rise to superstardom, just on the timing and inflection of that one French phrase that the majority of viewers will never forget after this.
That's all you can say! That's all you can say!
Omelette de fromage! Omelette de fromage!
What did you say?
Omelette de fromage?
Oh, Dexter, Dexter. French is the language of love. Oh, say it again, Dexter.
Omelette de fromage.
Maybe not the best episode in terms of plot, but I'll be damned if you don't think it's not memorable. Moving on to our number 4 spot is Dollhouse Drama from Season 1, Episode 9A. And the premise is, Dexter infiltrates Dee Dee's room as a miniature version of himself to see why she hasn't broken into his lab as usual. Turns out she's just playing with dolls, but considering how Dexter's now doll size, Dee Dee forces him to play along with her soap opera-esque scenario she's got going on between Darby and Ben.
Dexter!
All right, kid, reveal your evil scheme, or I shall have to force it out of you.
Did you come over to play dolls with me?
Dolls? Dolls? What are you talking about?
Dexter, meet Darby, Ben, and Dexter.
In terms of notability, I had to decide between this and Babysitter Blues for deciding which one would take the number 4 spot. Because both shorts involve an element of romance Dexter is entangled in that Dee Dee interferes with. This one edges out just a bit for me due to the gripping story unfolding in the dollhouse, and because it made me think twice about my own sister's playtime habits back when we were kids.
As this episode begins, Dexter is happily eating his breakfast. Eat your breakfast, Dexter.
My breakfast is a non-removable sticker. Although I am kind of hungry.
Dexter is joined by his beautiful wife, Darby. Dexter? 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 Aren't you going to kiss your blushing bride good morning?
Okay.
From Dexter's hallucinations of licking a sticker made to look like breakfast to destroying the dollhouse unexpectedly, it was full of moments of drama within drama where I just couldn't look away. And I appreciate it for that. It's a great episode to revisit, especially on Valentine's Day. All right, moving on to our number 3 spot, we have The Continuum of Cartoon Fools from Season 2, Episode 25B. And the premise involves Dexter digging deeper to find out just how exactly Dee Dee keeps finding her way into his lab, despite all the security measures he's taken over the years to keep her out.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering how you got in here.
Oh.
I got into the secret refrigerator back. I have just about had it with your shenanigans, Dee Dee.
This one's notable because it's one of the very few times I've witnessed Dexter have a mental breakdown. Not just because he's stressed about Dee Dee wreaking havoc, but because the age-old question of Dee Dee finding a way in to bother him in his sacred space is literally pushed to the limits of what's possible here. In essence, Dexter breaks the whole framework of what makes his show function week after week. Without that mechanism of this happens, therefore that occurs, quote unquote, we're left with the existential dread of what's to come when it all falls apart. Something we are given time to reflect upon once Dexter breaks the fourth wall and continues his philosophical panicking well into the end title card. In the words of Marty McFly, that's heavy, man.
Oh, my dear. In my overwhelming zeal to banish my sister from the lab, I have indeed locked myself out. Too blinded was I not to foresee the most piteous of fates. I have thus performed the ultimate tragic irony. Surely I am the fool of fools on a par with no other. I am no better than that stupid coyote or that crazy duck. Look at me! Look at me! I am locked in a continuum of cartoon fools. I am doomed to a life of comic misadventures and social indignations. And now, here I stand before you, beaten, defeated, and alone.
All right, moving on to our number 2 spot as we inch closer to the top of our countdown list, we have The Muffin King from Season 2, Episode 18B. The premise involves Mom enlists Dee Dee to protect her irresistible muffins from being pilfered by Dad while they're cooling. Little did she know how Dad will stop at nothing to get what he wants. This one's notable because it is hands down the best dad-focused episode of the entire series. Right up there with Catch of the Day and Ham Hocks and Arm Locks.
I love her muffins more than life itself. Those muffins are the reason I married your mother.
Well, they're in the oven right now. They'll be ready by dinner.
I need them now!
Seeing him play off Mom as an adversary solidifies in the viewer's mind just where Dexter and Dee Dee get their personality traits from. And it goes surprisingly deep into Dad's passion for the baked goods, delving a little bit into fantasies comparable to ones that, say, Homer Simpson would have about chocolate, candy, or even donuts over on The Simpsons.
Muffins are mine.
I just love how the squirrel was in cahoots with Dad the whole time too, which goes to show that when you're obsessed with something, especially food, you'll stop at nothing to obtain your object of desire. Now before we dive into our number 1 spot of this top 10 countdown, let's do a quick recap for those who haven't been paying too close attention. For number 10, we have Dexter and Computress Get Mandark. For number 9, we have Mach 5. For number 8, we have Dexter's rival and Mandarker joined together. For number 7, we have Just an Old-Fashioned Lab Song. For number 6, we have Paper Route Bout. For number 5, we have The Big Cheese. Number 4, we have Dollhouse Drama. For number 3, we have The Continuum of Cartoon Fools. For number 2, we have The Muffin King. And for our number 1 pick of this top 10 Dexter's Lab episode list, we have... drumroll. Last but not least, from Season 2, Episode 39. Are you surprised? I'm not. The premise involves, while participating in a foreign exchange program in Japan, Dexter unexpectedly unleashes a giant axe-headed monster from Mount Fuji-Yashiyami, who immediately goes on a rampage across Tokyo. When Dexter's normal solutions barely make a dent on the creature, he must reveal his biggest secret in order to recruit his family, the Justice Friends, and Monkey to help him defeat this foe once and for all.
Dee Dee, a foreign exchange boy. Hi, Dexter! Get it, woman! I do not have time for your nonsense. I have to complete my greatest invention so I can save the world from the giant monster, but Dexter.
Oh, but Dexter, the giant monster that was once trapped in Mount Fuji-Ashiyama. Oh, the only way to defeat him is to
Finish my really greatest invention.
This one is notable because it was originally considered to be the final episode of Dexter's Lab before the 1999 TV movie Ego Trip and the 2001 revival seasons were made, and it clearly shows. All of the stops were pulled out for this episode, which made for one heck of an action-packed series finale, complete with many tongue-in-cheek pop culture references, lore connections, and some good old-fashioned kaiju on robot action, a la Godzilla and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I particularly love how the mind eraser device is passed around between different characters at the end as a subtle yet effective gag, which is very reminiscent of something you'd see in Men in Black. Season 2 couldn't have possibly ended on a better note, and for some Dexter's Lab fans, that's where it did. Before we wrap up this episode today, I just want to give you a few honorable and dishonorable mentions that I came across when preparing this list for the episode. Starting off with honorable mentions, we have Rushmore Rumble from Season 2, Episode 23A.
You know, of course, Dexter, you have no chance to beat the first American president.
I beg to differ.
Why did this make my list? Well, it was just a ton of fun, paired with a ridiculous concept of the stone faces of Mount Rushmore essentially materializing into giant stone titans, just having a good rock'em sock'em robot time with each other as Dexter and Mandark settle yet another dispute together. It's pretty wild of a premise, and it mixes in a little bit of American history and some really fun gags, including that kid that goes out to play and just screams for a solid minute before running back inside. So I had to include it for that reason too. It's also fun to watch during a patriotic holiday like President's Day, so there you go. Second on my honorable mention list is Filet of Soul from Season 2, Episode 8A.
Good night, ghost of dead fishy.
And I picked this one because it's unexpectedly dark for Dexter's Lab, with the haunting, rainy atmosphere and the ghost of Dexter and Dee Dee's dead goldfish haunting them until they can send it into the afterlife, a la Ghostbusters. It's very reminiscent of a Life of Loopy episode over on Nickelodeon's Kablam, believe it or not. And I appreciate the scenario where Dexter and Dee Dee must team up for a change to stop a common threat from terrorizing their home. Though, after that ending with Dad, I wonder who the real villain is in this episode. Seeing him with glowing eyes and piranha teeth, ooh, that'll give me nightmares for days. Nonetheless, it is a great episode for Halloween viewing. Next up on the honorable mention list, we have Dexter Dodgeball from Season 1, Episode 3A. Why is it on the list? It's a fun episode that summarizes life in gym class as a nerd quite well. Seeing Dexter overcome everyone with dodgeballs was a true sight to behold, even if Dee Dee got him at the end. It's also worth mentioning this is the first time we hear a character say crap on this series, and the gym teacher was pretty intimidating, even if he didn't have to say that. Though I do have to say it was more scandalous back then to hear it compared to today. Lastly, it's quite an impressive action-packed episode that both Gandhi Tartakovsky and Craig McCracken joined forces on, resulting in a high-intensity action-based plot and a rare animated title card, which you don't see too often on Dexter's Lab. Maybe with the Germ Warfare one, but that's all the one I can think of off the top of my head. Lastly, on the honorable mention list, we have Way of the Dee Dee from Season 1, Episode 10C.
Dexter? Dee Dee? Yes, my brother, I am here. Are you ready to start a journey of enlightenment? Yes. Good.
Why did I include it? It's not often you see Dee Dee take the stage to do a little role reversal with Dexter in efforts to bring him away from his lab and out into nature. But the methods of her showing him a more spiritual path away from the creature comforts of technology inadvertently turned him into a stark raving lunatic. And it gives a viewer a moment for pause to realize, along with Dee Dee, the error of trying to change Dexter. I feel it was a very somber, deeply humanizing moment at the end where he's just left to fix everything he destroyed. And it's not something that we'll experience again until season 2's episode, Lab of the Lost. So I have to mention it for that reason, for the emotional range that we experience here, in both caring for and being surprised by how these characters unfold in the episode. So you know what certain episodes make the cut for a top 10 list of Dexter's Lab, but what about the ones that aren't well liked or appreciated? Is it due to the quality, or is it due to the plot that steers people away from these episodes? Let's take a look. First off on the dishonorable mention list, we have Dexter's Debt from season 1, episode 11C. This one makes the cut of the stinkers because it feels like a stale, frustrating episode. NASA makes Dexter pay an extravagant $200 million bill. Why? We don't really know exactly unless you want to frame through the bill yourself and try and make it out. But this is a episode that never sat well with me as a kid because Dee Dee is seen as someone who's just endlessly rewarded for doing nothing. She enters a publishing clearinghouse sweepstakes and she gets her big old check that she stuffs into her piggy bank. And it just makes like she's just being rewarded for being herself. And I find that very off-putting as a plot in Dexter's Lab because it frames Dexter in the negative for something it didn't seem like he really had control over. And maybe it was intended to help people prepare for dealing with things like debt and taxes growing up. But to me, it just made me not want to revisit the episode and not associate good emotions with such financial subject matters. Moving on for dishonorable mentions, we have Dexter Detention from season 2, episode 19C. This one made the stinkeroo list because it was a little bit too mean-spirited. Very much like Dexter's Debt, it's not something you really want to think about or enjoy when you're watching TV, but it was there nonetheless. And it's also personal for me because I actually got detention for also sharing a test answer out loud in class, much like how Dexter got his punishment here. Is it a fair punishment? Debatable. But I think my problem with it lies in the solutions the teacher presents. He basically resembles the uncaring nature of a disciplinary administration towards not just Dexter, but to the rest of the kids who are in detention. And we're supposed to believe that we need to feel good that Dexter is sentenced to prison after busting out of solitary confinement that's, so small that it'll make a mouse claustrophobic? I don't think so. This episode definitely doesn't make me feel like I've learned something in the process or walked away from it feeling good. So it has to be mentioned for that reason. And lastly on the dishonorable list is one that I'm sure many of you ToonHeads will agree with. It's Dexter's Lab, a story. Dexter's Lab, a story. Kind of like laboratory. Get it? It's from season 2, episode 24A. And I think we both know why this makes the list. That golden retriever is annoying. Thankfully, another talking golden lab named Doug from Disney Pixar's Up is far more humorous, cute, and charming to watch instead. It just makes me wonder if most dogs would sound like this if they could talk. Can't say I'm a fan of the original owner either, who picks up the golden retriever, golden lab in this episode, as he mimics the lab's dialect to great irritation. And the way it abruptly ended after that moment really made me confused and angry too. As if this episode is just a waste of time where we see non sequitur events happen and see Dexter frustratingly not understand why the dog is saying the things that he's doing and why. So yeah, gotta put it on the list for that reason.
It's my dog! I found my dog!
Hey, it's my man! I found my man!
I found you! Let's go for a ride. You wanna go for a ride?
Yeah, right, let's go for a ride!
Let's go for a ride!
As for my memories of Dexter's Lab, I'm going to keep this brief because it's a top 10 episode and I don't feel like it's necessary to delve in here, but it was one of my favorite Cartoon Network shows growing up, and I would often record episodes to watch when I get home from school so that I can appreciate everything it had to offer. In a time before DVD, TV box sets, or even streaming existed, it was my only way to appreciate cartoons from Cartoon Network in life by doing this. And something about Dexter being smart and him dealing with the hassles of siblings was something I related to. So as a result, I got very close with it, and it is one of the few shows that I've seen in its entirety. Before we get to our closing, we actually have a few letters in our mailbag today, believe it or not. One of them comes from my good friend and listener of the podcast, Manny, who you may know from Splat Attack Podcast. He wanted to weigh in with his top 10 Dexter's Lab episodes, and some of them are actually some of my favorites that didn't make it on my list because I tend to be a little more objective with these top 10s to differentiate them from the favorites lists. So without further ado, here are Manny's picks and see if they match with any of yours.
What's up, BDubs and Checkered Childhood? Here's my list of Dexter's Laboratory. Number 10. Please forgive me if I'm butchering this name. Dee Dee. In other words, this is when Dexter creates a monster accidentally, and he sends Dee Dee in the past to warn Dexter that there is a monster. But unfortunately, it has a weird effect where she keeps on telling Dee Dees until a bunch of other Dee Dees, or a bunch of other Dexters don't want to listen to all the Dee Dees trying to warn Dexter about the monster. So in other words, nothing happens and it's chaos. Number 9, The Parrot Trap. This is an amazing episode that I think about all the time as well. It's oddly quotable. Dexter creates a parrot, and unfortunately it repeats everything that the family says. But the thing that pops into my head most of the time is worms and plastic manos. Yup. The parrot repeats everything that Dexter has said and Dee Dee have said until it just confuses the whole family. So it's a really great episode. I definitely would recommend it. Really, really great watch. Number 8, Slytholity Psycho. It basically features Dexter's mom, and she does everything with the magic of her yellow dish gloves. But unfortunately, due to this day being Mother's Day, the family wants to do their best to try to help her out with all the chores. Fortunately, they're not as good as the chores as she is, and it's a bit unnerving to watch. Number 7, Dexter's rival, Mandark. In this episode, we learn the origin story of Mandark, which is Dexter's rival, all the way up to leading towards Ego Trip. Mandark is such a prominent character that I love that this is how he gets introduced. Number 6, Dee Dee's Room. This episode is a really interesting one, and it shows the surreal nature of the series that I like every now and then. Dexter basically is doing a trip to Dee Dee's room to see how she survives in this habitat. It's like he's visiting the jungle. It's really, really a trippy episode. Number 5, The Big Cheese. I'm sure this episode features on everybody's list, I'm sure. It features the famous omelette du fromage, which I'm sure is probably us millennials' way of remembering French, at least this phrasing. Number 4, Sister's Got a Brand New Bag. Of course, we all know that Dee Dee loves to dance, and nothing's more prominent than this very episode where she invents her own dance. So much so that she wants to show Dexter. And Dexter does everything in his power to not look at this dance, up until there's a payoff at the very end. Want to know more about it? Check out the episode. I don't want to spoil it. Number 3, Dexter versus Santa Claus. This is a really interesting episode because, a creative note, Santa Claus actually makes an appearance in this episode. And he pretty much just says, ho, ho, ho. But in the context that he says it in, you sort of understand what he's going through. And it's not really nice and jolly, but it's pretty much Dexter proving that Santa Claus is actually his dad. But unfortunately, it ends up blowing up in his face. Number 3, in other words, backwards. This episode, Dexter creates a belt that leads him to go forward or reverse. The belt malfunctions, and it leads him to go backwards or forwards beyond his control. I'd say it's a really, really good one to watch. It's very memorable for me. I totally remember whenever I see a staircase, I always just imagine Dexter running and then backwards walking, running up and backwards walking again. Number 2, Libretto. This is a musical episode. And believe it or not, there was an album that was released with most of this music in it as well. It's pretty much just a musical episode featuring the origin story of Dexter and Dee Dee up until their relationship to this point. And my number 1, Dexter and Computress Get Mandark. This is a very, very cool episode because It's a story by a 6-year-old that had an episode idea, and the producers loved it that much that they chose this as an episode to air. I love this episode because the kid is actually narrating the episode, doing some of the voices, and the way that they animated it, it looked like it was done with crayon, and the way it was drawn looks like a kid drew it. So that's my list, and I hope you enjoyed it. And maybe some of these episodes are on your list. So, back to you, BDubs.
Oh, there's some great picks, Manny. Wow. What are the odds of Dexter's Rival and Big Cheese happening at the same slots that I picked for my top 10 countdown? So cool. And it's strange that we both really love Computress and Dexter Get Mandark, except we totally reversed their slots, but who cares? It's just a show and we're just enjoying it together. Thank you again. Really appreciate that. And for all you ToonHeads out there, if you find any of Manny's picks interesting, definitely go check those out on Dexter's Lab. Looks like we got one more letter here. It's a short one. This time it's from our friend Matt, who also chimed in during our Top 10 Courage the Cowardly Dog episodes. This time, he didn't have a chance to compile a full list of his top 10 of Dexter's Lab, but he did mention to me that Dexter's Detention, Dexter's Rival, and Dexter vs. Santa Claus are among his favorites that he remembers all these years. So I appreciate you for sharing that with me, Matt. Thank you very much for chiming in and sending me that list. And I was going to put on Dexter vs. Santa Claus on my list too, because I really like the holiday theming of it. But I know a lot of people tend to hate it for the fact that Dexter's somewhat aggressive and mean-spirited to Santa in trying to reveal his identity to be Dexter's father instead of the actual Santa. So I could understand why it could be a little bit polarizing for a holiday episode, but I personally enjoy it for all the action. And Santa speaking at the end to clear the air of Dexter was quite amusing, so good pick. As for Dexter Detention, I'm kind of curious what you enjoy about that one the most, because that was among my dishonorable mentions of this list. I had nothing but bad memories about it, but maybe it could differ for you. So if you want to comment on this video and prove me wrong, or at least explain why Dexter's Detention is a far better episode than what I perceive it to be, I wholeheartedly welcome that. And also another great pick for Dexter's Rival, because yeah, it's a staple episode of the series that establishes one of the main villains that we see throughout the entire series. So it's rightfully due on this top 10 list. So why does Dexter's Lab matter? I'll keep it brief because we can cover this in another episode. But I feel it's worth making countdown lists to show why certain things stand out against others within a TV series. You know, we've already covered top 10 Courage the Cowardly Dog episodes, and whether you agree or disagree with me on my points, it at least brings more awareness to what makes episodes stand out and stand the test of time long after they initially aired. In Dexter's case, there's well over 100 episodes if you count like 2 per 30 minutes of Dexter's Lab as 2 different episodes. And it just makes you realize how hard it is to whittle down the choices to a 1/10 of that based on personal memories, merit, or the different things they try to do that break away from the traditional formula of the show. So I feel that I've revised this list twice already, and I tried to pick out ones that really deviate from the normal status quo of Dexter's Lab in an interesting way that make them memorable. And whether you agree or not, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Dexter's Lab, what you feel deserves to be in a top 10 list, whether it's your personal or a widely accepted one. And send me an email about it at checkyourchildhood@gmail.com, or you can mention it in the comments of this YouTube episode. But I think that'll do it for now, because I went a little bit backwards, like in that backwards episode of Dexter's Lab, and did my closing question before I got to it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, and be sure to rate and review this podcast on Spotify or wherever else you're listening to it. Definitely will read your letters in a future episode, just so that you feel like you're a part of this journey with me through Classic Cartoon Network, and together we can make it more special with the episode topics that we cover. All right, ToonHeads, tune in next time when we wander over into another neighborhood to see a strange play about meat for an episode review. Any guesses as to which show and episode we're going to cover? You'll just have to listen to episode 12 to find out. Thanks again, ToonHeads, for joining me for this top 10 countdown. I really appreciate you spending time with me to go through these episodes one by one and hear my takes on it. And I hope this episode, if nothing else, sparks something nostalgic and magical within you. And hopefully, like best friends, we'll be able to talk about more topics like this soon as we cover many, many years of Cartoon Network's history. Especially when diving into Dexter's lab. It's fun. For now, I'm exhausted from testing Dexter's latest inventions, but I'll see you again for some more sibling rivalry real soon. Have a toonerific day. Now get out of my lab, Dee Dee!
There! Now no one's getting in!
Yup. No one's getting into Dexter's lab now.